Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an incredible day here at the Arena World Championship, and it's only going to get better from here. We've eliminated our first two teams. Now we're on to the upper bracket. Our top four here in the European scene, of course, they will then have to go down and meet the sharks lurking in the water. Of course, we've got Chalky Milkmen who are looking like especially sharp teeth today on that shark in lower, but these are the teams that are undefeated so far in the tournament. We've got Diablolus versus Zizon coming up now, and then later on we'll have Wildcard Gaming against Method Black, which ultimately is kind of the battle of the titans from spring. I'm Healingstat hosting. We have Venruki, Supertees, and Zico here as well. And we've got a fantastic game. Like I say, this is a rematch from last week, Diablolus against Zizon. Zizon, with Jamie, formerly on Diablolus, got kicked off during the off-season, now looking to spark his revenge yet again.
Yep. Yeah. Jamie was not a problem, confirmed. Both me and Sid confirmed that he was indeed on Diablolus, but I think we're gonna maybe see the... we are gonna see Warrix.
What do you think about this?
Yeah, I was gonna say we might see the return of Warrix, and I thought maybe we'll see Mage Lock Druid because we saw this composition play out for Cloud9 in North America last week, but they're gonna go with the Rogue, also a very fantastic pick. This is gonna be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, once upon a time, Warrix was the most dangerous warlock in the land. We'll have to see if he can return to his former glory on Diabolus. Nixie, Azrath going to be backing him up. This Rogue Lock Druid setup is something we haven't seen in quite some time, but it was popular early in the spring season. We'll have to see what they can get done. Mercy and Jamie on the Elemental Shaman and Destruction Warlock will be able to shut him down quite a bit, but with the backup of Nixie, the kidney shot, that might allow Walrus some moments of opportunity to actually land those big, significant Chaos Bolts where they can get really aggressive.
I am interested to see how this matchup plays out. This is the first time we're really going to see Rogue Warlock against Elemental Shaman Warlock. Both Warlocks have their Infernals rolling, so their damage is going to be amplified for the next couple of seconds. Let's see who can avoid the big hits, who ends up making a mistake. Nixie being blasted down. Trinket Cloak of Shadows immediately respecting Mercy's assault. This is very interesting to see kind of like an old king, Walrix, on that Warlock. He's been a Titan for so many years. And now in game number one, Mercy, the newcomer Warlock, has an opportunity to overthrow the reigning king. Will he be able to? So far, the momentum is looking like it's in their favor.
Yeah, Walrix around 50% health. Asgrath should be able to keep him topped off at this moment of the game, but he's caught into a full fear. There's no Tremor Totem to back him up. Now Walrix is in an unfortunate situation. In Immortal Coil, Mercy's just kind of having his way with Walrix at this point in the game. You can see Asgrath, his mana's not doing great either. Right now, Diabolus is behind in basically all regards. Walrix getting low, could be his unending resolve, full blind on Drainer. Heat Trinket's out, and Walrix almost gets bursted down. Still greedily not using that unending resolve. Ironbark comes in, does keep him alive, but he got down to 5% health. That could have easily just been a killing blow with a bit more damage.
Yeah, Drainer is munching on Walrix right now in cat form, adding a bunch of extra damage to the team, and almost found a kill there. So the Feral Affinity definitely paying off. Asgrath, his mana is not looking good. Defense isn't looking good either. Drainer is finally being punished for this aggressive stance, getting stunned up when he jumped in to start attacking Walrix, although no real damage. Drainer with the disrespect, just slapping around Walrix in midfield even as the healer, and Diabolus struggled to get a footing.
Yeah, Diabolus definitely having a hard time right now. Enervate is up for Asgrath. Does manage to top off his team, but he needs to find a moment of opportunity to sit down, get a drink, recover his mana. If he can do that, Diabolus won't be in a horrible position, but pressure in favor of Zizon for most of this game.
Pressure in favor of Zizon, certainly. There could be opportunity to punish Drainer for his aggressive stance, and that appears to be the line that Diabolus are trying to take. Chaos Bolt's flying in from Mercy onto Nixie. Lightning Lasso, big combo, 4 seconds away from Cloak of Shadows. But it is going to come off cooldown. Nixie will survive. And then they switch their attention to Walrix. Mercy's pressure much higher, which is a little bit not anticipated. As both Warlocks are being left open, you would have thought that Walrix would take the upper hand, but I will say that Drainer's Feral Affinity usage, this extra damage, is really the difference between Zizon and Diabolus in terms of output. I mean, look at this pressure. Walrix is never topped off. Asgrath consistently expending mana to just stay alive. He needs to drink, but Drainer could go in cat form and go for the kill at this moment. Can they stop the drink and also go for the kill is the question. Looks like they're not able to. I see an Infernal walking its way away from where Asgrath was. How much mana did he get? If he goes back to full, that certainly keeps them in the game.
Yeah, he's going to be near full mana at this point. Walrus, though, caught in the open in a bash. A lot of incoming damage from Jamie, and Mercy, his Walrus going to be able to survive. Askrath, he's got a few moments left on that Iron Bark. Netherward buys him those moments he needs. Kitty shot now over on Jamie, and now Diablolus, they've actually swinged the momentum in their favor with that drink. Now it's Drainer that has to sneak away. Walrus is getting low. Do they have the damage to take him down? Through Iron Bark, it is unlikely. Mercy just throwing out fears after fear, getting Walrus out of that efflorescence, that additional healing, but he does manage to find his way back in. Jamie with a nice lightning lasso, getting some additional damage out. Big swap over onto Drainer, and I think Diablolus, they need to be focusing on this. Drainer is putting out way too much damage with that Feral Affinity Cat form. When he's in the open, Walrus, he needs to be turning his attention to Drainer. Nixie has to back him up with those kidney shots, and if they can pressure Drainer away, that will be an opportunity for them to try to find some pressure in this match.
Their main advantage is that the Assassination Rogue brings the Mortal Strike effect, which reduces all healing on the targets applied with Wound Poison, which he can put on all 3 players at the same time. So at a certain point in this game in Dampening, I could see that definitely working out for Diablolus, but the weakness that the Rogue brings is that he's a melee DPS. He has to get up close and personal, and when fighting 2 casters, such as the Elemental Shaman and the Warlock, it means that you're always going to be fighting where Zizon wants to fight, which means you're going to be most vulnerable. So Nixie needs to maintain his health, try and have the Wound Poison on as many targets as possible, and look to ramp up pressure deep into Dampening, as Dampening has just started. Asgrath needs to try and drink, while Nixie focuses on staying alive. How much mana will he get here? Not too much, but at least evening the ball game, although I think he needs to have a lead on mana. Drainer hasn't drank once, and he's at the same amount, so significant pressure difference between the teams already.
Yeah, definitely Jamie in a little bit of trouble. He's trying to get behind the pillar out of line of sight, and that's one of the advantages Jamie has, is he can just run away from Walrus at any point he wants, and that really limits their damage output. But Nixie on the Assassination Rogue just brings so much consistent pressure, plus that Mortal Wounds. Nice setup here from Diablolus. Jamie getting low. Needs to try to avoid some damage. Astral Shift comes in. Nice Vanish Garrote Silence on a Drainer. What is Drainer going to do? Iron Bark gets overlapped with the Astral Shift. Jamie gets topped off, but that was a nice push by Diablolus, and they did manage to get essentially every single defensive cooldown Zizon has available.
Good push there from Diablolus, an opening for Walrix now to set up for the win, with Dark Soul and Infernals available shortly. Although he is being pressured by the Lightning Lasso as well as the Feral Affinity. Drainer's trying to be deflected, but Mercy protects him with the double Mortal Coil, launching a couple Chaos Bolts out as well. Asgrass mana is not looking good whatsoever. Pressure is building onto Walrix. Drainer is just so bold in the matchup. He's in cat form more than he is out of cat form. Infernals landed for Mercy. They're looking to close any big hits here, any sort of wavering in defense, and Walrix will fall. He's interrupted, unable to use Unending Resolve while interrupted. Where's the damage? Can they push him over? Drainer jumps in, interrupted again into a Lightning Lasso. Big damage. Nice Nether Ward, reflecting Mercy's Chaos Bolt back at him. Mercy looking for crowd control to end the game. Walrix on the run, but Mercy and Drainer are hunting him down. Jamie's making his way over. Iron Bark available, but there's no mana. Infernals are coming in for Walrix. It's do or die. Walrix needs to get a kill with these. If he doesn't, I think he's going to be overwhelmed.
Yeah, Walrix in a lot of trouble. Askrath does throw out the Iron Bark to keep him alive. He has the Unending Resolve, but can't be too greedy with it. Jamie has a lot of damage at his disposal. Walrix getting low, 20% health. Nixie trying to play a little bit of defense by pressuring down Drainer, but I don't know if Walrix can survive. Lightning Lasso coming in from Jamie, a huge hit. It is going to be the Unending Resolve to keep Walrix alive. He's caught into a fear, Mercy denying him, but it's Drainer that has to play defensive. He's in a lot of trouble. He's already used Barkskin. He's used his Trinket. He's incredibly vulnerable. Walrix still low. Askrath sitting down for a drink. If he can recover his mana, this is great for Diablolus.
He's not going to be able to. There's no defense. He's in a fear. He trinkets into another fear. Mercy with beautiful crowd control. Defensive smoke bomb, but they're on top of Walrix. It's going to provide no defense. Walrix becomes overwhelmed, and I would say that that game was confidently in Zizon's favor. Asgrath was able to drink more than a couple of times. Drainer didn't even need to drink once. Drainer's Feral Affinity usage, definitely MVP, and overall, I did not like the matchup for Diablolus whatsoever, at least the way that it was played.
Yeah, convincing game one here from Zizon, and for the first time, Twitch chat is looking correct for this series here, so give yourselves a pat on the back, guys, with that one.
The first
Zizon
time.
as well. The first time today.
Okay.
First time today. But
you got to be careful with how
Zizon.
you smack talk.
Yeah, I know. But Zizon, obviously, with a clean.
They have the power to clip us when we have awkward moments. You don't want to be down talking Twitch chat.
We start clipping back. But Zizon, obviously, as I was saying, they had a good victory here in game 1 against Diablolus. Was it a composition mismatch, or do you think that Drainer just got the better of the team and he was playing so aggressive?
Well, as we can see in this clip right here, I think Drainer definitely did play very aggressively, made himself, a threat that Diablolus had to kind of go after more often than not, which of course allowed Mercy to just have free reign. I'm not sure if it's a comp or a strategy issue, because I feel like going after Jamie, it didn't really amount to too much, whereas Warwick's on the other end was just constantly pressured. You can see there, even at the end of this one, he's getting wind sheared, he's getting spell locked, he's getting bashed. There's even a war stomp right there from Drainer to take him down. I feel like Warwick's just wasn't enabled at all whatsoever in this composition, because he's, the only caster threat on the team. So the Rogue has to shut the other caster down, right, to kind of make it more even, and he just wasn't able to really do that to the same degree as, having wind shears, having all of these spiky bursts as well. So I think that this was also a matchup that, Diablolus wanted. They knew that Zizon most likely are going to play Ellie and Warlock, so I think they have to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, one of the interesting things about this one is that Diablolus actually came into this tournament as the #1 seed. They're super high rated on the European ladder running the Mage Lock Druid. Would you have preferred to have seen that matchup, perhaps, Seeker?
Well, we saw it last week from Cloud9, and I mean, I don't think that the Ellie Druid lock that they faced are as good as Zizon, but we did see the Mage Lock convincingly win that matchup. However, I am a firm believer that the composition that Zizon runs is kind of designed to shut down Frost Mages, so I'm not even sure if that's the correct play. I would have rather liked to see it, though, compared to what Diablolus was running, or I would have liked to see Diablolus maybe go after Mercy and just try to, fear Jamie more, try to control him a little bit more with just CC.
Okay, so you think the matchup could still go in their favor if they turn on Mercy. Do we agree with that on desk, or would you rather see a rather different comp?
I mean, I would like to see maybe that strategy, and then if it doesn't work, a different comp. But on Ashamane's fall, I think they want to either play Rogue Mage or Wizard them back. I feel like otherwise they should have gone with a small map where the Rogue can more easily get some different targets, counter pressure Drainer more. But at the same time, they needed to drink, but I think it's because they weren't attacking the Warlock. If they attack the Warlock on a small map with the Rogue Lock Druid, then I think that it works. But picking a big map makes me think they're not going to be playing Rogue Warlock.
Okay. So we might see maybe a Mage Lock Druid here then, you think, Sid?
Potentially, or a Rogue Mage Druid. Yeah, Rogue Mage Druid with drink setups. I mean, they just watched Chalky Milkman's Rogue Mage performance against a Wizard Cleave. I think an Elemental Shaman is probably easier to kill in this specific matchup if they play as well as Chalky Milkman did. So they're going back to their main bread and butter. Obviously, in the European region, that is going to be the Rogue Mage, pretty much. From, I don't even know how many rosters total in the tournament have it, but at the highest level, basically. So I like to see the European Rogue Mages. I think that this isn't... I think this is a good pick overall. It's a good map to drink. They will have to drink, likely. And they can still win off of burst setups on either Elemental Shaman or the Destruction Warlock. I think it's going to perform better than the Rogue Warlock, at least on the map. Although when we do go to smaller maps, maybe they do mix it up again if this doesn't end up working out.
Yeah, and I think with Diablolus, one of the other things to note is that this team has been an incredibly formidable Rogue Mage Druid, right? Like, even when they didn't necessarily have as much practice as some of the other teams, their Rogue Mage Druid has looked stellar, so much so that Method Black wouldn't dare to mirror them at the spring finals. So they're definitely leading with their front foot. These are the 3 core members that did win them BlizzCon 2 years ago as Diablolus looked to strike back in Game 2.
Yeah, and I don't think this is necessarily a bad matchup for them. When we saw Zizon go up against Rogue Mage Druid last week, I have to say, Summer Cup #1, the story of the whole tournament really was that Rogue Mage Druid. Zizon, depending on who they fought, they managed to find victory against Rogue Mage Druid, but they also lost. So I think this is one of those matchups that can go either way quite easily. It just comes down to who plays better, who capitalizes on those moments of opportunity, and we'll have to see what they can get done.
All right, Zizon looking for vengeance here. Jamie defeating his former team, Diablolus, which was formerly named ABC in the first Summer Cup, and now looking to do the same here in Summer Cup. number 2. Zizon definitely leveling up in terms of their skills and capabilities, and now with Change My Mind out of the tournament in 7th, 8th place, it's an opportunity for Zizon to surpass them on points, potentially snag a spot at the summer finals where they can then fight to qualify directly to BlizzCon and the World Finals. So this is the opportunity that both these teams effectively have been waiting for. Which one's going to take it? So far I feel like momentum has been in favor of Zizon. I'm curious to see if Asgarath is running that Feral affinity. Drainer appears to be. Drainer just loves being... I almost think he wants to play Feral and not Resto at this point.
I mean, he's been able to get really, really aggressive, and those talent choices definitely give his team a nice little edge, especially if he can get that damage off. Nixie getting a kitty shot over onto Jamie, starting to develop some pressure. And we kind of talked about the Assassination Rogue, and we've been talking about them. Their consistent damage in a matchup like this starts really adding up over time, especially as you move forward into dampening. They bring the mortal wounds with the wound poison and very heavy consistent damage with all the bleed and poison effects that they have. For an elemental shaman like Jamie, this spells disaster. Early on, I'd have to say I would give the edge to Zizon, but if Diablolus can bring the game late enough and they can keep up the pressure over onto Jamie, it's definitely a matchup that favors them in the late game.
All right, can Zizon maintain their defensive posture long enough to overwhelm the opposing team? The Warlock, Druid, Shaman, a composition known for dampening, I would say is the original dampening composition. Although in this position, they're getting a ton of burst damage, maybe even an ice block. Big heal from Asgarath right at the last second. Allows Alec to get aggressive, secure a Ring of Frost on a Drainer. Jamie uses his Grounding Totem to stop one Gladiator's Maledict. Doesn't have it, obviously, for the second, so he's going to be under a bit of pressure. Uses a Cap Totem to stop crowd control. Beautifully done by Jamie there, disrupting the absorption effect, breaking up the crowd control, and now enabling Drainer to get out some extra damage onto Alec and continue pressuring. Lightning Lasso on Alec. Nixie is unable to interrupt. He's too far away. He's actually trying to potentially attack Drainer, stunning him up in cat form. Frozen Orb gets dropped, but Alec is interrupted. He's trying to go for burst, but they're getting peeled away and denied on the swap onto Drainer. Overall, I will say Zizon do a great job of allowing Drainer to play so aggressively, and if they can allow Drainer to play aggressively, then they're going to have effectively 3 damage dealers on their team, and I do like the way that they play around him so far.
Nixie's going to be continuing up the pressure over on Jamie. If you look at mana, Asgarath at around 65% right now. Drainer caught into a Cyclone, so we can't see his mana just yet, but I'm curious to see who has the lead at this point, and it'll sort of be the story of who has to sneak away and go for those drinks. The team that does normally loses a little bit of pressure and has to play a little bit more defensive, so we'll have to see how that plays out. Obviously, we can see now Drainer way ahead on mana at around 90%. Getting bursted down with a nice swap coming in from Alec and Nixie, getting some nice consistent damage off. Drainer playing really aggressive like we talked about with that Feral affinity, but that opens him up and leaves him susceptible to swaps and sort of rush down strategies like we could see coming out from Alec and Nixie.
I think it's a bait. I don't think Drainer is actually going to die, and they're just attacking him, and then the Destruction Warlock is free casting. The Elemental Shaman is free casting. I mean, every kidney shot's going on Drainer, which means Mercy is never stunned and Jamie is never stunned. And as long as they can protect Drainer and he's either at his Demonic Gateway to escape or has a Bark Skin, outside of Vendetta, I don't think they're going to kill Drainer unless Asgarath as well is running the Feral Affinity, but so far we haven't seen much Feral Affinity from him, especially in this game where it matters the most. He is looking like he wants to sneak away, drink, and regenerate mana. Drainer's trying to stop him by jumping over. Nixie commits the Vanish to prevent Drainer from stopping the drink. How much mana did Asgarath get? Not nearly enough. Drainer is now out of the Ring of Frost. Is that an Imp to spell onto Drainer's Ring of Frost? I'm trying to pay attention. The Imp is so difficult to actually see. I don't see a spell. It ended up breaking just to damage. This is very unfortunate for Diabololus. Zizon is just walking all over them. I mean, the way they're playing this Elemental Shaman Warlock Druid, the way Drainer is playing it in particular, just hyper aggressive in their face, attacking everyone. And you feel like, well, what is this Resto Druid doing? Like, we should just attack him and kill him. But if you do that, then you're just left with an Elemental Shaman and a Warlock free casting, destroying your entire team. And if you don't kill him while you're attacking him, then you have just 3 members owning your entire squad. So the aggressive Warlock Shaman Druid strategy looks like it's working so well.
Yeah, Drainer just sat through a blind, into a sap, into a polymorph, into a bash, and Diabololus couldn't find the damage they needed to force out a single defensive cooldown. That is kind of a disaster in this situation. They wanted to at least force the trinket from Drainer or the astral shift from Jamie, but they got nothing. Zizon did not give them an inch in this matchup. Diablolus does manage to sneak away. Asgaroth off the back of that pressure and crowd control does manage to get away and go for a drink, and he could completely reset his mana just as dampening hits, and that's going to keep Diablolus in this game. That was a very important moment. Although they weren't able to force out any defensives from Zizon, it made them position in a very defensive manner, which allowed Asgaroth to escape and go for those drinks.
All right, Asgaroth getting swapped to by Zizon. He regenerated full mana, but he doesn't have full health, and if that hits 0, then you just lose. He has to trade significant defensive cooldowns to survive that swap. Now Alec left behind. Zizon immediately switching their attention, spreading their damage out. Drainer's moving in again. He gets bashed. Alec gets disrupted by the Earth Elemental stun of Jamie. They're doing a great job of shutting down all attempts at Drainer, whether it be crowd control or kills. Now he's spending a lot of extra time in cat form. Potentially Asgaroth should be looking for more hibernates to try and force Drainer away into crowd control. We haven't seen any hibernate poly combos casted while Drainer's been standing in their face. I think that's probably the better way of dealing with this than going after him. Then focus down the Elemental Shaman when you get control onto Drainer, because right now Drainer is just having too much fun.
Yeah, Drainer, he's been able to get a lot of work done in that feral form so far in this matchup, doing a lot of damage onto Alec, onto Nixie, onto Asgaroth during those moments of opportunity. Drainer now getting aggressive over onto Alec with the bash, helping out his team, locking Alec down. Asgaroth goes for a restealth, bounds to pounce onto Mercy, but they haven't been able to pressure down Drainer, and that really is the story of the game. Like you said, Sid, if they go after Drainer, they commit the kitty shots there, then all of a sudden you have a free casting Mercy on the Destruction Warlock, a free casting Elemental Shaman, and it becomes very dangerous really quickly in this matchup. Another setup you can see here onto Jamie with the bash over on Drainer. He doesn't have his trinket. And I think that's actually, did he trinket out of the blind?
Blind.
Okay.
But I think that was set up by Diabolus. They have Icy Veins and Vendetta, so Drainer that is a situation where he will die if he's not saved, even through Barkskin. If he's stunned in cat form with those 2 powerful cooldowns activated, he won't make it out alive on his own. He uses Iron Bark preemptively. This is so he can actually just jump on top of Diabolus and maybe just outright overwhelm them, but he is spending a lot of time basically bad mannering, because Vendetta and Icy Veins are big hitting spells. If he gets caught, and he does get caught, they pop Vendetta immediately. Mercy is trying to save him with double Mortal Coil and Fear. Mercy with perfect peels, but Drainer actually jumps right back into Nixie's clutches, stunned up, but he is at the Demonic Gateway. He can use it if he needs to. I think he has to. There's not much defense, but Asgaroth is actually waiting at the other side of the gateway. He's trying to drink and also prevent Drainer's escape at the same time. Asgaroth goes into stealth, moves away and dodges the Thunderstorm. He's crossing away, looking if he can drink on the other side of the map maybe. He stuns Mercy. He doesn't go for crowd control. Big damage on Alec. Asgaroth spent a lot of time just trying to avoid combat and potentially drink, and all that time he spent in stealth now cost Alec an Ice Block.
Alec forced into the ice block. He does manage to get out of it. Asgaroth tops him off quite quickly, but he doesn't have much mana left to work with. We're at 20% dampening. Things might start spiraling out of control here for Diabolus. Zizon has just had control of this matchup from start to finish. Asgaroth gets caught into a fear. Alec could be in a little bit of trouble here, but he's positioned at the pillar quite nicely. Mercy just getting polymorphed up. Now a nice little setup going out onto Jamie. Diabolus might be able to start getting some damage rolling. This is the Icy Veins coming in from Alec, but quite frankly, they're not really able to get too much done. There's a full polymorph on Drainer. This is exactly what they needed. Ray of Frost being channeled out onto Jamie. Nixie all over him. And this, on a moment's notice, Diabolus could turn this matchup in their favor. An Assassination Rogue in dampening is really scary for these Elemental Shamans to deal with.
I think Hibernate Polymorph on Drainer is the best way to deal with him in Feral Affinity chasing you down, and then go after Jamie with all of your pressure. I think that's much better strategy than what we've seen so far. Alec in a bit of trouble. Asgaroth activates Innervate to get some free heals. If he gets dispelled on that Innervate, he will not get the free healing. Jamie not able to remove it. Innervate gets to be benefited there on the Overgrowth as well. It's the most expensive heal a Druid has, so you definitely want to make sure you get that ability off while Innervate is active. Alec and Nixie both consistently pressured away. Although with that big push onto Jamie earlier, I think that it is anyone's match. Nixie overextends chasing Jamie. He's now stunned up. Mercy could move in for a game-winning Fear, potentially. They knock Nixie in midfield. Mercy roots him out in midfield with Conflagrate and then fears him off. Good teamwork there between Jamie and Mercy. Now double Mortal Coiled. Asgrath's gonna have to spend a lot of mana to heal both Alec and Nixie as they spent some time in midfield. Asgrath crosses the map as well. Diabolus are in full retreat, looking for an opportunity with this next Vendetta. Potentially a swap on Drainer, but Nixie got left behind. He's bashed. I don't think Tranquility is going to be enough at this point. Dampening. Lightning Lasso. Huge attack. That War Stomp again.
Oh, nice.
Another game-winning War Stomp from Drainer. And I mean, Drainer's Feral Affinity is stellar. I feel like we haven't seen him play Druid a lot in previous tournaments. He was most notably playing his Mistweaver, but his Druid is looking confident.
Yeah, this is the thing. Drainer was known for playing basically every healer other than Druid, and now we see him going against the best Druids in the world and proving, hey, I am also one of the best Druids in the world. And another fantastic performance here from Zizon. These guys are looking fantastic as well.
Yeah, these guys are really, really doing great things here. You know, the combination of how they kind of play the offense is really, really nice. I mean, Drainer, he gets caught up in situations sometimes where he doesn't have the trinket, and, you know, things like Icy Veins are available, things like Vendetta is available, but Mercy is always there to back him up, you know, with the double Mortal Coil, with the spell lock, doing what he can to support his healer, and that just allows Drainer to immediately jump back in and be very, very aggressive like he is here. And just off of the momentum that they build up, they gain themselves mana leads. I mean, Drainer hasn't even really been drinking throughout this game, but Askarov is still the one who just has to do so much healing, and that's because of the burst that they have at their disposal. You know, here's another bash into Mortal Coil, into Lightning Lasso, into War Stomp right there, and that's big, big damage. Nixie doesn't have his trinket, has his Cloak of Shadows, but because of how clean that stun lock is, he's not able to get it off, and, you know, they're able to take him down with that Elemental Shaman burst.
Yeah, I mean, it's really good play once again from Zizon. They're looking fantastic. This matchup not necessarily favorable, but Drainer, Jamie are looking absolutely insane. We'll see if they can tie up this or win the series 3-0 outright after this. Ladies and gentlemen, we've seen some absolutely incredible series here. I think Gelu Barbar's team playing like an absolute boss. Now Zizon playing like bosses themselves. And if you want to play like a boss, we did have the toy advert just in there. You can buy the toys, support these players who will most likely be fighting their way to BlizzCon today. All of the money, or well, some of the money going to the pets will be contributing towards that BlizzCon prize pool. So you are directly supporting the players with those purchases, and we really appreciate it. Those of you who do, and you can style in-game both with the fireworks and with the boss pets as well. So that's absolutely awesome. And also, what's awesome has been the performance of some of these teams so far today. Earlier, we saw Gelu Barbar's team with a fantastic 3-0 victory, the fastest series we've ever seen, 15 minutes. Now Zizon coming out looking to match that. I mean, it's not going to be 15 minutes, but still, for a series of this caliber, this is very fast.
Yeah, I mean, they have definitely turned on the fireworks here for Zizon, already up 2-0, doing phenomenal things here. You know, Drainer on that Rusted Druid has just been looking stellar, doing so much damage, setting up so many kills for his team, and Mercy has really been backing him up as well. Jamie looks completely unfazed when Nixie and Alec are setting up these attacks onto him, and you know, entire squad of Zizon really has been performing well so far. We'll see if it's going to be a hot 3-0. Take it away, gentlemen.
I will say Zizon is looking hungrier than any other team in the tournament to qualify, almost more hungrier than I was with that opening cutscene with those delicious snacks sitting on the tables.
They keep doing that to us,
I feel like it's a bit unfair because, I mean, do the ghosts actually eat the food, or does the food just... Why are they making
through them, I think.
Well, us here at the AWC would like to invite you to a dinner party to watch Diabolus and Zizon go head-to-head, which could be the potential final game of this series. Zizon just one game away from closing it out. Diabolus basically with their backs against the wall. They have to win this game or they will be knocked down to the lower bracket, and you do not want to be in that position. So far, those teams are looking like they are very devastating, dangerous squads to go up against. Alec taking a little bit of damage early on. Mercy relays his gateway, so he's going to be positioning right outside of this room that Alec and Asgrath have sort of taken as a defensive position. There's been decent pressure on the Jamie so far. Garrote Silence into Cheap Shot, a nice standard setup coming in from Diabolus to get the sap over onto Drainer, but Drainer's just been so greedy, sitting through these blinds and saps, and not really forced to use any sort of defensives.
Yeah, good crowd control attempt by Diabolus, but no damage to back it up. And I think this is where the playstyle difference comes in, because Zizon have said that some rogue mages just smack them around, and then other ones, they have an easy time. And I think it's the rogue mages that focus on overly defensive play that Zizon are able to defeat. And I mean, speaking honestly, Alec is probably the most dampening mage in the game. That's why he won BlizzCon, was because he focused on just dragging on every single game as long as possible. And sure, it's a skill set that is attributed to him, but when facing a composition like this, the Elemental Shaman, the Warlock, and the Feral Affinity Druid, it's easily exploited. And I think that is why we see Zizon so confidently, smashing Diabolus.
I mean, that could be the case. Drainer caught into a stun. Jamie taking a little bit of damage. He's going to be trading out that Astral Shift. They're getting aggressive on Alec. That was a big Earth Shock incoming from Jamie, partnered with a Chaos Ball from Mercy. And these are the moments in the game that are just really scary to deal with. Another sap over on the Drainer out of the, I believe that was a blind. He trinkets out into a Polymorph, and now finally in some crowd control, and Diabolus manages to get Drainer's trinket out of the way. Full kidney shot onto Jamie. He does manage to get into Ghost Wolf, so he's going to be able to survive that setup. And now, Zizon can reverse the pressure over onto Alec, but he's playing very defensive, using this center pillar to just avoid as much damage as possible. There is an opportunity here for Diabolus to go after Drainer if he plays a little bit too aggressive, but they haven't fully been able to punish him so far in the series.
2017 BlizzCon champions Nixie, Alec, and Asgrath are having a hard time here against Zizon. Jamie, a former team member, kicked off and now looking to take down his former team. Drainer, formerly part of the Pumpers with Cervantes, looks like he's had to remake his roster as well, along with Nerd Rage. And a new pickup, the Warlock Mercy. This team looking like a strong contender in the European region. The only team in between both Europe and North America to be running this Warlock, Shaman, Druid composition at this level with these specific strategies. And perhaps we see teams like the boys who have this composition available, if they're watching, stealing some of these strategies to use in the North American region, because we have seen regions take each other's strategies and adapt them for their own uses when they start hitting a wall in terms of compositions. And it's interesting how each region levels up based on the fact that the compositions were so different from each region to begin with. Now they're so wide and varied. Jamie cycloned at low health. Drainer's Iron Bark is denied. Jamie in a lot of trouble. Diabolus finally with some momentum here in the matchup, but they're on match point. Asgrath jumps in. Bit surprised to not see him stun Jamie, stunning Mercy instead. Then moving over to Cyclone Drainer. Beautiful crowd control here by Diabolus that gets them the Astral Shift before Vendetta. So there's a big opportunity right now for Nixie on the next kidney shot to overwhelm Jamie. Jamie needs to be ready for it. Zizon need to prepare to protect Jamie. If they can keep him alive during that moment, then almost certainly they're going to continue to overwhelm Diabolus. But if they can't keep him alive, then they're going to be losing this game, and Diabolus will have an opportunity to come back in the series.
Yeah, Asgrath into a bash. He is forced to use the Bark Skin as they make an attempt on him. He just wants to limit all of that incoming damage. Infernals get dropped out. Big attempt here by Zizon. Mercy wants to get hyper-aggressive. Double Mortal Coil onto Alec, onto Nixie. What is he going to be able to get done? Big Chaos Bolt incoming. Immediate Ice Block by Alec. He is not messing around. That would have been a huge Chaos Bolt that could have easily closed out the game. This is Mercy's opportunity to really get some damage rolling, and they get big defensive cooldowns because of it.
All right, kidney shot attempt on Jamie. That was a bait. Nixie was hoping that Drainer would use Iron Bark and then have an opening with the Vendetta, but Drainer didn't fall for the bait. Drainer's having some fun time right now in cat form, freely attacking whoever he wants. Zizon just pushing Diabolus around. There was an opening, but it's slowly being lost here. 15 seconds away on Jamie's Astral Shift. Tossing out the Elementals to chase down Asgarath. I say that I like Jamie's management of these Elementals, just using them to keep the enemy healer in combat. That is the main strategy of the meta in 8.1, is revolving around mana retention and getting drinks. So sending your pets rather than focusing on them to do damage to your target, sending your pets at the enemy healers to keep them in combat is usually the best strategy. They are trying to employ that here against Diabolus. However, Asgrath has managed to slip away. Mercy is polymorphed, unable to stop. Drainer is stunned, unable to stop. Diabolus play goalie perfectly here to get a drink, but they have to exchange an ice block, and now Alec is unlikely to see another for the match, so they will have mana to keep the fight going. But now Asgrath's Glider's Medallion has been burned on a Fear. If Asgrath is crowd controlled and there's enough burst damage, Alec will have no defense and likely die. So unnecessary but risky exchange on the part of Diabolus as they are on match points.
Yeah, Alec going to be in a lot of trouble. There's no trinket on Asgrath, no ice blocks for another 4 minutes. Dampening's at 8%. Zizon has a perfect opportunity to take someone down in this matchup, but you can see Nixie, he's got every single one of his cooldowns. He can be the playmaker for his team in this matchup. Drainer has got no trinket. They might be able to go after him. There's going to be an opportunity with Vendetta, with Icy Veins, Diablolus. They could all in Drainer, or they could go the safe route, try to just go after Jamie, get the crowd control on Drainer, and I think that's a lot safer and potentially the better option in this matchup. Jamie in a little bit of trouble right now as Vendetta gets pulled out by Nixie. They're looking to get aggressive. Astral Shift gets used by Jamie. Is there any follow-up? Banish Sap coming in from Nixie, setting up his team quite nicely to potentially get a kill. 10% dampening, you cannot mess around against a Rogue Mage Druid. Drainer trades out the Iron Bark, but that's basically all the defensive. Oh, big hit on Askarov! He gets taken down. That was a beautiful setup. Mercy, what an excellent job counter-pressuring in that moment. Jamie was going to be in a lot of trouble, but Zizon managed to close it out off the back of a beautiful offensive push.
I was getting deja vu to last week on Dalaran Suez. I think they set up a very similar style kill. Excellent offense. Once again from Zizon, we talk about the Lock Shaman Druid being a solid defensive composition, but these guys do everything when they play this. They're looking absolutely stellar. Another 3-0 here today, Zico.
Yeah, today has been very, very surprising. We saw these teams go head-to-head last week, and it was a nail-biting 3-2 in favor of Zizon. But this time around, they just look like they have figured out Diablolus with that Rogue Mage Druid, bringing in a lot of interesting strategy. And like with you guys, I thought Jamie was in big, big trouble here. But Mercy, you can see he has that demonic, Dark Soul, yes, thank you, man. Available right there, and he's going to be activating that shortly to set up a big, big burst here. Jamie, of course, in that Frozen Orb. Drainer caught up in a Ring of Frost with that follow-up Sap as well, and he doesn't have his Astral Shift, but there it is. Full Fear coming in here on Asgarth. There's the Dark Soul. One Chaos Bolt gets lobbed, and there it is. Drainer coming in as well there with a big Ferocious Bite, following up the Fear with the Bash as well, and that's such a nice thing to do as a Warlock. On these small maps, you have a short range on the Fear, but if you can find it, you can really set up a nice kill like that. And that was all Mercia, honestly. Drainer just had to follow up on that with a stun, and that was easy.
Yeah, I want to talk about this guy as well, because we talk obviously about Jamie. He has a big grin on his face right now. He's just beaten twice in a row, 2 weeks in a row, the team that kicked him off in the off-season. He's looking great. Drainer obviously back to competing, looking great on his 5th healing class. Like literally, Resto Druid was his least played if you go this time 6 months ago or so. And now he's looking great on that. But Mercy, new to the competitive scene, how good is this guy? Because he beat Warwicks in this series, and he's just looked unstoppable every time we've seen him.
I mean, he's basically done exactly what he's needed to do. When they needed him to play defensive, he comes in with beautiful peels with the Infernal Stun, the Mortal Coils, the Fears. He's just on point. He can set up these kill opportunities by himself, like we just saw in that last matchup where he was able to take down Asgaroth quite easily. And I just think as a unit, these guys are playing really well. And speaking of Drainer, I feel like last week, he wasn't this good. But in 1 week's time, they've improved quite a bit. It's been impressive to watch him play. There really is a fine line of offense and defense you have to balance as a Druid that's playing that Feral Affinity, and it looks like their team is a lot more comfortable with it now, and they just quite frankly own them.
Yeah, the clear standings, that's something that we'll have to see. Obviously, Zizon, new squad for the summer season, ladies and gentlemen. They're looking great for the summer finals. 4th last week, now already guaranteed a top 3. We will see them on Sunday playing out against the winner of Wildcard Gaming versus Method Black.